I do not understand my hair this morning, so we're just gonna deal with it. Okay, whatever. Hi everyone, welcome back to This Book Belongs to Pam, and today is the 1st of August, which means that it's a brand new month for a brand new readathon. I am joining Jan Agaton's Full Moon Readathon. This is a readathon that she does every year, and I think it's the third year, but it's actually, I believe, my first time actually joining, so this is exciting. I do want to share with you the books that I have decided. Okay, so there are technically 4 characters that you can collect for this readathon, but I'm gonna focus only on 2 characters because each character you have 3 prompts. So you start with like a crescent moon, and then a half moon, and then a full moon, so you kind of go in order to collect the character. The character that I want to collect is the mummy primarily, and then the raven. So I'm gonna focus on the mummy first. And the first prompt for the mummy is a paperback book, which really works out in my favor because I am gonna be reading The Quiet Ones by Glenn Diaz. This is by a Filipino author, and this is the book club pick for my work, like my day job's book club. So I'm happy that I'm able to fit this in there. It's published by Ateneo Press, and this is about this call center agent who works for an international, I think an American company, and he kind of figures out this loophole, this bug where he has essentially enabled himself to embezzle money from the company. It's kind of like a thrilling literary fiction, and I believe it kind of covers the whole BPO culture in the Philippines, where a lot of international companies outsource things like call centers to Filipinos because labor is cheaper for customer service types of jobs here in the Philippines. So yeah, this is The Quiet Ones by Glenn Diaz. Very excited to read this. This has been on my TBR for a long time. And then the next book that I'm going to be reading for that is a book that has been in my TBR for a long time, or like a book that you've owned for a long time. And I looked at my shelves and I don't exactly know which book I've had the longest, but I know that Gallant by V. Schwab is a book that I've had since its release. So this was released in 2022 and I pre-ordered it. So 2022 is not like a long time ago, but I think it's a significant amount of time, and I have been looking for an excuse to read Gallant. I don't know why it's just not pulling me. So I need sort of like a reason to read it, and this seems like good enough. This is V. Schwab's, is it like middle grade? It's kind of giving like Coraline vibes. I know that this didn't really get the best reviews, but I'm so excited to read it. It's not short, it's kind of thick, but the font is quite big because it's middle grade, and there are like illustrations inside as well. So I am hopeful. I mean, if anything, I love V. Schwab's like writing, like her prose. These are the books for the mommy prompt, and then the final prompt is a activity prompt, and I believe for this one you have to post like a wrap up of the books that you've read. So for the books, these are the prompt. And then the next character that I want to collect is the Raven. So for the Raven, the first prompt is to read a classic. Now I was afraid of this prompt because the classics that I have in my shelves are on the thicker side, but I remember that I recently hauled this, and you would have seen that in my book haul video. I'll link it down below. But I recently hauled Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector. So this is a very thin book. And I believe it's like 70 pages. Yeah, 70 plus pages. It's modern classics. Yeah, so I had to just stare at the cover to look for what type of edition this is, but it's the Penguin Modern Classics, so this is a classic. I'm very new to Clarice Lispector, but I know that she's a well-beloved author, and this is her most recent release, like the last thing she published, and everyone just said that this is a good book to start because it kind of encapsulates her writing style. So I am gonna take them at their word and read Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector. I have no idea what this is about, but yeah. And then for the next prompt is to read a book by a favorite author. Don't really have authors where I can really say that they're my favorite. I have a few in mind, probably like V. Schwab, Frederick Bachman. But then I've read books from them, and usually they're like fantasy books, and I just don't want to start a big fantasy right now because I am in the middle of a lot. So I thought long and hard, and then I saw this on my shelves. This is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson, and if you know my videos, I have read everything by Margaret Rogerson, all 3 books or 4 books, and I have really loved every single one of them. So I have read this book as an ebook. I've never read from this edition before. This is the Fairy Loot, the Fairy Loot edition. So I thought it would be perfect for a reread because it's an author that I love, and it has ravens in the title. So I think it's just perfect for collecting the raven character, and it's a pretty short standalone. It's so beautiful as well. Look at that. It's really beautiful. It has like golden sprayed edges. It's subtle. It's like glitter. I don't think you can even see that, but it's glittered. I love it so much. So pretty. So yeah, these are gonna be my books for the raven character, and I am blanking on what the activity prompt is. I'll have to check later, but yeah, that is my TBR for Full Moon Readathon. I am not like gonna be ambitious and try to collect all characters because that would mean reading 8 books, and it's only until the 13th, so I don't think I can do that. But yeah, these are my books for Full Moon Readathon. Yeah, these are my prompts, and I will be reading it. Okay, I am so confused. For me, even the most like frustrating and anger-inducing customer service call I've ever been on has never treated me this way. Like, you would tell this to your like client, no, I'm not charging you. If you chose to be pregnant at 16, who am I to judge? Only God can judge us. Does that actually happen in call centers? It doesn't sound like it would happen. I mean, this is in 2007, so I don't know if that's the climate back then in call centers here in the Philippines, but it just doesn't track for me. I think this is my first actual update on this book, but I am on page 90. It is now August 6th, so it's taking me a while to actually read this book, and I think I made a terrible decision of choosing this as my first book. I was expecting a little bit more of a fast-paced, kind of heisty, like suspenseful read, but this is definitely a more literary take, and that whole heist thing was just really I guess one of the plot device to talk about Americans, Filipinos, globalizations, and things like that, like deeper topics, I suppose. I guess that's great, but it wasn't really what I wanted, and I think I will still continue reading this because I am already 90 pages in, and I think if I really try, like if I really focus, I can definitely finish this in maybe a day and a half. I think so. I'm not sure. But I just want to be done with this because I only have how many days left? If it's August 6th, this ends in August 13th. I only have about 7 days left for this entire readathon, and I still have 3 more books, but I do think the other books will go by faster than this one, so I just really need to focus and finish this. I guess my initial impression on the story in itself is that it's interesting, but the characters are just not realistic for me. Like, they don't sound like real characters. They sound like a made-up fictional character, which they are, but they don't really feel like they're a part of the setting that they're in, especially in the backstory of the main character Alvin. Like, everything he does and everything he thinks just does not sound natural. The dialogue just doesn't flow well for me because of that. It jumps all over the place in terms of timeline. It's just not what I expected, I guess, and that's on me probably because I didn't really check what it's about.
Hi everyone, good morning. It is the 11th of August and I don't think I've really updated you about the books that I've been reading. Like I've been filming some clips here and there but not really updating you. So I did finish The Quiet Ones, I think a day ago, no, 2 days ago. And what are my thoughts? I had a really tough time with this. The first 112 pages were so hard to get through. But after that, actually, it was quite enjoyable. Like, it went by quite fast after the first 112 pages. But this book is not what I thought it was gonna be, and that's probably on me. I initially thought I was getting some kind of like action thriller type of book. But no, it was definitely literary. I think the review or the blurb from the Philippine Daily Inquirer at the back of the book says it best. The Quiet Ones begins like a thriller. A man in an airport, a suspicious black bag, the police not far behind. But swiftly, the pretense of a crime story is discarded. What unfolds is a tale at once intimate and sprawling, in which the minutiae matter just as much as the prominent plot points. So that is definitely something that you need to know moving forward, so you know what to expect and not be quite confused and disappointed as I was. Now, the first 112 pages of the book. The reason why it was so hard to get through those pages is because of the characters that were featuring in those pages. So this book is divided into a couple of sections and it features 4 different pairs of people. And the first couple, Alvin and Scott, I absolutely detest their chapter, their section, not because of their relationship or anything like that, just because of the sheer pretentiousness of Alvin. I mean, Alvin is presented as this philosophical person. He tends to really think about things in a bigger, deeper way. He likes to put capital letters on things. Like, it's not just exhaustion, it's capital S, capital E, supreme exhaustion. And he kind of does that a lot, and it does get quite annoying. And I don't know, probably because I was still fresh off of my expectation that this is gonna be like a thriller, that I absolutely was so annoyed by that first section. All the other chapters were really good and interesting to me. Like, I really got in with the characters and I really got invested in their stories. I especially like the story about Carolina and Reynaldo. I think it was an interesting story. It kind of has that Eat, Pray, Love vibe, where you have this foreigner who's trying to search herself after a divorce. So she goes to the Philippines and basically spends 5-something years in the Philippines just being lost, like just trying to figure things out. So it definitely has that vibe, but I think because it's set in the backdrop of the Philippines, it made it a lot more interesting to me. And then the next one was about this, I guess, workplace romance. I actually really enjoyed that because we did get to see the rest of the characters in the call center, because that's where they all worked. And we get to see their day-to-day lives, the day-to-day grind, and the things that they go through. That was really what I was looking for in this book. I wanted to see what the day-to-day life was like and why they decided to actually do this heist. We did see that in the chapter between Karen and Brock. Actually, that chapter was probably my second favorite, or maybe it is my favorite, because it really showed a lot about the call center industry, the dynamic between an American employer and the middle class workforce in the Philippines. And I think that was just really interesting, and that was the chapter where I really got stuck into it and I just kept reading until the end. So really enjoyed that. But definitely don't go into this book thinking it's a thriller. It's definitely literary, and I guess if you prepared yourself in that way, you wouldn't have such a jarring experience in the beginning, especially with how much Alvin, the main character, pontificates about every single thing. Anyway, other than the first section, I really enjoyed this book. I think it was really good. So I think I'm gonna give this a 3.5 stars. That is The Quiet Ones by Glenn Diaz. The next book that I need to read, I believe the prompt is to read a book that you've had for a long time. The book that I picked for that is Gallant by V. Schwab. So I'm gonna start this. It's actually quite a nice book. There's quite a bit of illustrations inside. Just a quick flip through. There's like a couple of illustrations in there. I mean, it didn't really show in the flip through, but there are. And this is the front and back. It's kind of like an upside down door. Is it? Yeah, it's an upside down door. I didn't notice that the first time. So I'm gonna start this, and I need to finish this today essentially, and then if I can still swing it, I'm gonna start my next book, which is Clarice Lispector's Hour of the Star, and see if I can still get the Raven one. I'm still hopeful that I can still finish my TBR for Full Moon Readathon. I only have 3 more days, including today, and I also need to film and edit a video, so it's gonna be difficult, but I think we can do it. It is only, I don't have my phone with me, but I think it's around like 9:30 in the morning. But if I finish this first 2 books and do the activity prompt, then I'm happy with that, because at least I got one character. Hello again. I finished reading Gallant last night. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I really enjoyed the writing by V. Schwab. I mean, I always love V. Schwab's writing. She just has this expert ability to string together pretty words and create really pretty pictures in my mind, and I really love that. I just love how she describes the smallest things, and everything is just so visual, and it sounds good in my head, and I love that. However, the characters here and the story in itself, I didn't really care for. I wasn't invested in Olivia, our main character, and any of the other characters in the book for that matter. The story has legs, but maybe because it's in a middle grade format, so everything is just rushed a little bit, and the conclusion is like, it's simple in terms of how everything is resolved, and I guess that is to be expected in a middle grade book. It was just so-so. I didn't not like it. I didn't like it either, but the beautiful words really carried me through to the end, and V. Schwab just likes the concept of light and shadow is what I'm noticing. It's pretty much present in a lot of her books, and that is just interesting to me as well. If you just want a very simple, straight to the point, middle grade book with really good writing, then I would recommend you to read Gallant. Otherwise, it's not my favorite V. Schwab work, and that's fine. So yeah, that is the second book for my first character for Full Moon Readathon, which is the Mummy. So now, because I've read The Quiet Ones and Gallant, I have acquired the Mummy, and that is the first character that I have acquired, and it's already, technically it's the 13th in the Philippines, but I'm gonna follow Jan's time zone, so it's still the 12th in there, I believe. I've also posted my wrap-up, because that was one of the prompts as well for Mummy, so I posted my wrap-up on Instagram. It's been a while since I've written an actual review, and actually quite liked the experience. I didn't put any pressure on myself to write very intelligent reviews. I just said what I would say if I were filming a video review. So I had fun writing that. I might start writing my reviews again on Storygraph. We'll see. I've been wanting to do that for a while. So yeah, I have the Mummy, and I'm happy with that. If that's the only thing I collect for this readathon, I'm gonna be happy with that. But I do want to try and collect the next one, which is the Raven.
Contemplating all my time. My thoughts make me tired, just running through my mind. Wonder if there's peace I could find, instead of always being on the grind. I
Hi. It's been a couple of days since the end of Full Moon Readathon, but I'm only now filming my, I guess, wrap up of the books that I read for this readathon, which is, as you may have seen, not a lot. I didn't really complete my TBR, but I think I did quite okay, given the fact that I just came from a reading slump. So for the Full Moon Readathon, the first ever one that I'm like fully participating in, I was able to collect one character, which is my priority character. So I still did good. I collected the Mummy, and then I did start reading for the next character, which is the Raven, but I only finished one book for that. In total, I read 3 books, which I'm really proud of because, you know, I was in a reading slump. So I read The Quiet Ones by Glenn Diaz. This is Filipino literature. It's a literary fiction. Don't you mistake it for thriller. I gave this book 3.75 stars. There are like words used here that might be triggering for some people, especially if you're in the gay community. So it uses the F slur for gay people. So obviously it's used in such a way that it's not that the author supports using of that word, but it's just the language that was used at the time, and it was used in the context where this character is being very, I guess, demeaning about the gay community. So it makes sense in that way, but yeah, it might be triggering for some, so just a word of note on that. So yeah, that is The Quiet Ones for Glenn Diaz. So I read Gallant by V. Schwab. I gave this one 3 stars. This is commonly compared to Coraline, I think because of the whole like parallel houses thingy, but I think they're very, very different, especially with the themes that they tackle. Coraline had a more like existential tone to its storytelling, but this one has a bit more of the middle grade fantasy vibe. So yeah, that is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. I read Hour of the Star. This was like 70 something pages, but that I think includes like the translations note, foreword, or like an introduction. So it's a very short story, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much. The storytelling is very weird, like it's so hard to describe, but this book brought out, I'm not sure if you will be able to see, but it brought out the underliner in me. Like I was underlining. Look at that. I don't really write on my books. She just has a way with words. I'm trying to think about what to tell you about this book, but essentially this isn't really a book about a plot. It's a narrator telling the story about this girl. You know how there's like breaking the fourth wall? This one is pretty much just the narrator taking us through the story in his head, and he's telling us everything, including like what he feels, his hesitations in writing this. It's kind of like he's telling us, okay, I'm gonna tell you the story. This is a story about this girl, but honestly, I'm writing a story and I'm not feeling good. I think I wanna get a drink first. And but really, I'm gonna tell you the story. Just wait a second. And that's kind of like the tone of the whole thing. An author preparing to tell the story, but through that, he kind of drops sort of like information about this girl who is really living a difficult life. He's trying to tell us about her thought process, about her, I guess, aspirations or non-aspirations in life. And it is tragic, but at the same time, it's kind of funny because of how much the narrator sort of like speaks over the story that he's telling. And it's weird, but it's so fun. And I just really enjoyed it. I think the stuff that I underlined, it's not really about plot or anything like that. It's really just words. Beautiful words that are stringed together. Here's like a quote. So she protected herself from death by living less, consuming so little of her life that she'd never run out. Here's another line. But I also think she was crying because through the music, she might have guessed there were other ways of feeling, there were more delicate existences, and even a certain luxury of the soul. So there's like a lot of references to music, to soul, to living, existentialism. I just love it. This is 5 stars. If you can't already tell, but I just really enjoyed it so much. I don't know how to recommend this book because it is really odd. So if you're interested, it's only 70 pages, so just be prepared to not really read it for any kind of plot or character, but more of for like concepts, ideas, thoughts on life, on living.
and I think you would enjoy it. So yeah, that is my first Clarissa Spector, and I am so excited to read more of her work. I'm trying to figure out which one I should read next. 5 stars, absolute 5 stars. So those are the books that I read. I was going to read or reread Enchantment of Ravens to fulfill the Raven prompt, but I ran out of time, and it's good. It's fine. I'm happy that I read these 3, where's the other one? There we go. These 3 books, and I'm glad that I found a new 5-star read. That is always exciting for me. And this has been a full Moon Readathon. I'm definitely gonna be joining this again next year. So thank you so much to Jan from Jan Akaton for hosting this readathon. I will leave a link to her channel down below. I hope that you enjoyed this video. It might be a little bit all over the place, but I'm happy to be back in the full swing of things when it comes to like filming. So yeah, that is my full Moon Readathon vlog. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for the first 13 days of August, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!